Good morning, outdoor artist with a progress report on the pond filter that I've been working on here for the last week or so. I had an idea as I was setting this stock tank up to be used as a filter, and that is if I sank it low enough to get it even with the top of the actual pond, I could simply, after pumping water in at the end, I could just have a natural siphon back to the pond, which seemed like a nice idea. So that's what I'm going to try. And I should mention the inspiration and for this filter design was from Oz Ponds. So I'll shout out to Oz Ponds. Check that channel out on YouTube, and I think you'll get some very good information. So one of the things I like about that channel is he gives not only the design in terms of the suggested size and volume, but also the suggested flow rate. And I think the flow rate I had excuse me, for some of these smaller filters I've had in the pond has just been too fast. In other words, I'm just surging water through there without giving it a chance to percolate, which is what's required for an effective biological filter. Now you see a few things happening here already. First of all, the burial itself of this thing was through clay and rock and took 2 days. They were actually 4-hour days, but that was a lot of work to get that down where it needs to be. And once it was down there, the first step is putting in rocks that are actually about this size that I'm tapping here, and you can see one there's a few more here, so that's the lowest layer. And this filter material here is not so much for filtration purposes as it is to keep the next gravel course that I'm going to put in from going down and clogging up the channels that I created. So the channels are from this pipe here, which is going to be the input. So the input will be pumped into this, which goes all the way to the bottom, and then there's a T at the bottom which releases it into the lower channels. And the purpose of those lower channels is really to clarify the water, to settle out as many solids as possible. And the solids pump out station is here. So this pipe, which is much bigger, goes all the way to the bottom. There's another T. It's protected around it for the solids to assemble, if you will. And then I've got a small hand pump that goes down to the bottom of that, and I can just occasionally pump out those solids to keep the filter fresh. This post, which is not quite vertical yet, but it will be, is actually capped at the bottom. So this is a post which is intended to be several drills or perforations around the outside, and as the pond gets full, this is where I'll potentially run my siphon back into the main pond. So the next step will be filling with number 2 crushed stone up to probably this point or so, and then it'll be topped off with number 1 round gravel as the final course, and then we can start with the fill. The fill will probably be from this pump here, and I do have an auxiliary pump that I'll be using to run the waterfall, and those will be independent systems now. So the filter will be on one system and the waterfall will be on the other, and I've designed a flow rate such that per OzPond's recommendation it takes between 5 and 15 minutes to fill this, so the flow rate ultimately the water will be in here for 5 to 15 minutes before it's filtered back out into the pond. So I'll give you an update as this progresses, but I just thought it might be useful for any of you that are working on this sort of thing to see what it looks like, or what at least this one looks like partway through. And this is the outdoor artist signing off.